something so personal and perfectly normal. And to do that to his wife, Catherine, I mean, what has Princess Catherine ever done to Harry but love him? He should be ashamed of himself.
Yeah,
I suspect he is, because you can lie to the entire world. When you have quiet moments, you cannot lie to yourself.
Fact.
Yeah, and indeed, and in the book, he even describes Kate as the sister he never had. Well, funny way to treat your sister. You mentioned Meghan's, shall we say, changing views on race. You have actually said in all of Spare and all of the characters spoken about in Spare, the people spoken about in Spare, you believe Meghan Markle is the most racist person in the book. What do you mean by that?
Good question.
What I mean by that is that if you go back and you look throughout Meghan Markle's entire career, she never wanted people to know that she was Black. She never wore that on her sleeve. She never spoke about her Blackness. If we had looked at her, I maybe would have assumed that she was Hispanic. No one would have ever guessed that she was Black. It was never relevant to where she wanted to be in her career. And the first time that you find that Meghan mentions her Blackness is when she wants to get out of the royal family. Even at the wedding, the only Black people she had were billionaires that she wanted to be on their shows. She had Oprah and she had Gayle King and she had her mother, who is partially Black.
What do you mean by that?
But Meghan Markle didn't have any of her Black family members at her wedding. This is a woman that was escaping her Blackness throughout her entire life until she realized that it could be used to her advantage. And I find that to be despicably racist. When you say the only value that being Black has to me is when I can use it to get ahead and to climb the social ladder, and that's when I'm going to mention it, and I'm going to use it as a shield so you can't say anything because I'm Black, and how dare you speak about a Black person in a negative way. Because she realizes that I don't have to face any critiques. I'll just call it racism. And then everyone will have to excuse my behavior. I find that to be despicable. It's a very bad view of Black Americans to have. And I want to be clear that it's not the way that most of us think.
Okay.
And so I'm so disgusted. Now she's done a 23andMe because she wants people to know what percentage of Nigerian she is. She suddenly became interested in knowing what percentage of Nigerian she was at the ripe age of 41 years old. I mean, do me a favor, spare me, Harry, spare me.
What's interesting, though, reading the book, you can just tell how manipulated and sucked in he is by his wife. I mean, Candace, he still believes that Meghan had no idea who he was. He says multiple times in the book, she's never Googled me. She's never Googled my family. She has him wrapped around her little finger. And that's not to say that Harry shouldn't take the blame. I've always said right from the start, I think they are both to blame for their actions.
Fact.
But he is manipulated by her, is he not?
Absolutely. And what's so funny about that is Meghan is a trained actress. What she does is that she studies people. She's not a good actress, but she is a trained one.
I said, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait. First of all, you're not going to speed past that like you didn't just say what you just said.
Right? She's been doing it her entire life. And there was no doubt that she studied Princess Diana. She studied her mannerisms towards Harry when he was a boy and the way that she grabs her face. And this is the psychopathic elements of what she does, putting a pregnancy text next to Princess Diana's hair, saying that she put her hands on the grave to have a conversation with her, bursting into tears. Oh. And she has convinced, there's a thing called in psychology called the Freudian transfer. She has convinced Harry that she is Princess Diana, except this time he has an opportunity to save her. That is the truth. And it's worked, right? So she's done this convincing performance for Harry that I don't know how I ended here. I just love you. And I'm just like your mom. And the one chance that you had to save your mom again, when he recounts that tale and the things that she said, she threatened homicide on her unborn child and suicide on herself. And then she convinced Harry that it was his idea to leave the UK.
So that was a lie.
No, of course, if you threatened to commit suicide and homicide against my child, you basically said to Harry, you need to do something radical or I'm going to take my life. And that something radical was to leave the UK and to leave the royal family. And yet he believes that this was his own idea and not that these ideas were manipulated and planted into his head by Meghan. As I said, he just isn't very bright. He actually believes everything that she says to him. And unfortunately, I don't see how he can get out of it because he's got no one around him. It's a perfect example when you learn about abusive relationships, isolating someone entirely from their friends and their family, making them believe that their friends and their family are the enemies. I mean, these are classic signs of an abusive relationship. She has accomplished all of them.
Fact.
Harry and Meghan are having a bad week.
They are absolutely stunned to learn that they are being evicted from Frogmore Cottage. You know, Frogmore Cottage being funded by the taxpayers. That was where they were originally living when they were, well, still royals, and they are still royals. They haven't been stripped of their titles. But obviously they fled to America because UK is a horrible racist country. And you'll recall that they complained about how small Frogmore Cottage was. And that was when there was just 2 of them before they had children. Now they have 2 children. And they just can't believe that Harry's father, King Charles, is going to remove Frogmore Cottage from them. So they decided that they were going to be evicted. They're making them leave. They're instead going to give Frogmore Cottage to Harry's uncle, Prince Andrew.
What?
And that makes sense because Prince Andrew is still a royal. And he is, no matter what you think about him, it would make sense that they're going to give it to somebody who is at least pretending that they like the United Kingdom, right? I don't think Prince Andrew is a good guy, but I certainly don't think Prince Harry and Meghan living in California, in Montecito, should also have the option to have a cottage that they think is too small, remember? So the Sussexes have a very friendly reporter. His name is Omid Scobie. He always has the scoop. Obviously, they're talking to him perpetually about how they feel about certain things.
Nice.
And he essentially told them, according to him, he says, it all feels very final and like a cruel punishment. It's like the family want to cut them out of the picture for good.
What do you mean by that?
Harry and Meghan have until early summer to vacate. Initially, they were given just weeks, but now they have at least until after the coronation.
Come on now, dog.
They feel that that's final. They're shocked by this. They're shocked that they're basically saying, no, obviously we shouldn't just let you have this cottage. Is this what shocks them? Do they understand? Are they this delusional?
I said, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait, first of all, you're not going to speed past that like you didn't just say what you just said.
You really have to pause and ask yourself whether or not Harry and Meghan are this delusional. Whether or not they really thought that they could do an entire tour talking about how much they hate their family, how racist and backward the royal family is, how racist and backward the whole of the United Kingdom is.
Boy.
How happy they are in California, how they never want to come back, how California and living amongst their A-list pals is where they want to be, how happy they are.
Is he all right upstairs?
But he loves his brother. Don't forget, I love my family. I love my brother. I'm just literally going to make millions of dollars trashing them. And also trashing my little niece because she was a 3-year-old, didn't like a dress.
That doesn't make sense.
And they still thought that somebody should just hold a candle for them and in the form of a cottage at Frogmore. You can't make this stuff up. You can't even understand what's going on in their minds right now. You just have to assume that they are fully delusional, and that's what it takes. That's what happens when you have a psychologist.
Well, duh.
Now in America, it's that new age psychology who can convince you that no matter how terrible of a person you are, you should still be awarded, and you should be potentially awarded with lawsuit money. In the case of Meghan Hall, if she wins this lawsuit, they probably will settle. That's what cities tend to do. Or if you are Prince Harry, you should be awarded with a cottage. Boring. All right, guys, the next portion of the show is going to be available exclusively on Daily Wire Plus. I'm going to be reading your comments and answering some of your questions. So if you are not a member yet, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and click the link in the description and subscribe right now.